Okay, guys, let's not waste any time. Let's talk about these guys. And by these guys, I mean 23rd World Tournament Goku and our guy, Mud Jr. Their EZAs are going to be upcoming this year. After the 8th anniversary LR's EZA, that unlocks basically all of the 2023 characters to EZA. These were the Golden Week 2023 TURs, and they were very, very popular. It's honestly kind of, it's a little surprising, but it's also not. They gave a lot of love and care to these units. I mean, if you look at just like, I hate to rag on them, but the ROF Blue EZA, their EZA, just looking at this unit, look at this unit's kit and what he has right here, just baseline, and look at what like the ROF Blues have after their EZA. Like this is a 2023 like Dokkan Fest TUR versus 2026 EZA Dokkan Fest TUR, and like the love given to these units was clearly there. So I just wanted to talk about like expectations and what we could possibly see when it comes to their power level and like past Golden Week TURs and what we've seen from them in terms of strength. Just looking at it, I really hope, honestly, that they kind of keep the spirit of the kit with 23rd World Tournament Goku, because it's a very fun idea that he guards for his first turn, and then after that, you need to get the revive up for this unit to guard. And I think that's a pretty interesting idea, but it is just like outright him having this 50% chance to guard right here. It's a flaw, and I think that they'll do what they've done with a couple other units where they just sort of cover up the flaw. And I think if they cover up the flaw, they might not make him as strong because overall he just has like less weaknesses. I think leaving a very clear weakness in his kit might let them do what they did basically to him on release, where it's like, after you get this revive, ally revival, or this character's revival, he's in God mode, and that's what everyone called it back then. And I think that if they just kept the spirit of this unit's kit, made it so that he does have this obvious flaw, but once you solve it, you get your revive, this unit is going to be, I think, a very fun unit. Maybe they'll bump this high chance up to a great chance. Maybe they'll give him the 7th anniversary LR treatment and he guards permanently, but he only has some damage reduction on his first turn. And then obviously you want to get the revive after that, leaving him that, weakness in between his first turn and when you get the revive. But regardless, this character's revive it's one of those revives. And we'll talk about Golden Week TUR EZAs, and Int Gotenks is one that also has one of these conditions. Int Gotenks and Tech Super Buu, they have these conditions where it's like, collect my 7 pages, and or else you don't get to do the fun part of the unit's kit. And you really just, on release, you never saw this. You never got this unit's revive. You usually got the or an ally's active skill portion of this unit's kit. And I think this unit's strength is going to be determined by how good of a revival character you can run alongside him. And I think the GT duo may matter a lot for his strength, especially if we get a team where we can run them alongside each other, or whatever EZA that this character, or whatever celebration this character drops in, whatever EZA during that celebration, or whatever Dokkan Fest or LR drops during that celebration when this guy EZAs is going to matter a lot if they have a revive. And looking at Piccolo, I think the two most important things when it comes to Piccolo are going to be, one, at the bottom you see here, his super attack effect. I think his super attack effect is going to matter a lot, because I'm going back now. If you look at his kit, he has a lot of additional supers, and before, when you were using this unit on release, he was just all stats. Like I don't know if they're gonna keep that or give him some damage. I have to imagine they give him some damage reduction or guard or dodge or something like that. But if they don't, I think with the amount of additional supers this guy's doing, if they were to give him like greatly raise attack and defense for 5 turns, like, and then bump up all these chances, or maybe even give him more, obviously with baseline stats increase all over his kit, and then the TUR stats, this guy could be a very, very fun EZA. And I think that super attack effect, I think it's going to determine a lot. He already has this sort of team protector mechanic. It's not super restricted, but you really, in the current meta, you'd be seeing this at the end of fights. This is his active skill condition, but it's the same for it's the same. Starting from the fourth turn, start about turns to giant when HP is 60%. I guess it's a little easier. It's not. This one is 50. His active skill is 50, and then his giant is 60, which is kind of odd that they did that. But they could change this though. They could change his giant and just make it fourth turn start a battle. They could make it third turn start a battle. They could just make it whenever HP is 60% or less. I think that's something they're likely to do. Maybe even they can make it so that you can do it multiple times. They could do any of those things with this unit. And I think it's going to be I think this is going to be an EZA where this is the one that if they fumble, because of how highly he was viewed on release and how strong he was, you could, people are going to be very upset. This guy and 23rd World Tournament Goku. So after that, let's look at some of the Golden Week TURs, EZAs that have happened in the past, just to examine how strong they were. Starting off with the 2019 EZAs. I tried to start with a kind of modern era of Dokkan with 2019. This unit on release, he EZA'd in the same year that the 2023 the 23rd World Tournament Goku and Piccolo Jr. He EZA'd in the same year that they released, and this is a very, very good unit. This unit was very good, and I think it contrasts the unit he EZA'd alongside Tech Trunks very badly, because this unit felt so. You started as this Zamasu, who is giving this key support. He has the damage reduction. He has the stacking. He was a unit that was there, and he wasn't like super dominant in base, but he's still 30% defensive raise permanently, and then you transform after that, and then you have the stacking attack and defense, see at the bottom here, and then you have additional supers after receiving an attack. He did okay damage. He's still giving the support. He has the 50% damage reduction, which was a good defensive mechanic. That was good enough back then. And then I think that he also was just recovering a tiny bit of HP, which maybe wouldn't have been the best alongside Tech Merge Zamasu to get the infinite Zamasu out, but he was a very, very good EZA. And then his final form was also pretty good. This was something this was his bread and butter. This was what you're really in, the Merge Zamasu, but you could use this at like the end of fights just to secure the damage and to finish off the boss. And I think Tech Trunks this unit was like, I feel like people recognize that he was good. The two major fights back then were, I guess it was the Dismal Future Red Zone, those fights, and then the Omega fight. And this unit was way better for the Omega fight because the Omega fight's a long fight. Technically, this unit was also way better for the Omega fight because they both stack. And, he stacks here and he stacks here. And it's like, he doesn't stack in the final form, but Tech Trunks was stacking too. But this unit was not enjoyable to use because of this. In my opinion, this is the single biggest issue with this character, besides the fact that Zamasu starts with damage reduction and this unit does not have. He has an additional. Like in base, he has an additional. It's just, this isn't comparable. 30% chance to crit. Like this base kit is not comparable to Zamasu's base kit. And then you look at raise attack, greatly raises defense for 3 turns. So you basically, the issue was, okay, I'm going to go Super Saiyan, look at it, greatly raise attack and defense. He just greatly stacked attack and defense here. The issue was still no defensive mechanics, nothing here. Basically, your defensive stacking was his only true defensive mechanic. And you didn't, unlock the character. This greatly raised defense for 3 turns was basically you holding off 1 stack for your first turn in base, and then you went into here, and then he did the same exact thing. Like he still only had 1 additional. Like he only had a single additional there with great chance. In base, he only had additional with a high chance. So it's like, even if you did max supers in base and then max supers here, and then you went to turn 5 after, you did max supers turn 1, he transforms on your next turn, and then you did 3 supers again here, then you get to turn 5. Turn 5, you are basically at the same place you just were after getting max supers for turn 1 to help you on turn 3. It's this character, after supering turn 1, after getting max supers turn 1, if you get max supers on turn 3, he basically is in the same spot that you were on turn 3. It's hard to explain, but it felt like you didn't unlock this character's kit until turn 5, and That was not the case with Zamasu. Zamasu did not have that issue. He did not have that quirky little design. He had damage reduction. This character does not have damage reduction. He does not have guard. He doesn't have dodge. It was not enjoyable to use him. And I think that that definitely showed in even the Zamasu, even in the Omega fight where it was a longer fight. It was a longer fight, but like he still wasn't as dominant as you would have liked in there, especially considering Zamasu was good in the Omega fight and he was good in the Red Zone, the Dismal Future Red Zone. And looking at his last phase, I have two things pulled up right here. I don't have his super attack pulled up, but I have his pre-EZA passive on top and then his post-EZA passive. This is a massive issue. Like, this is literally the ROF Blues issue that they have, where it's just they didn't get enough abilities. There aren't enough abilities here. They increased defense. Like, okay, on this character's first turn, I want you to look at like what the differences are. 10% more attack per key sphere, 10% more defense per key sphere, and then he gets 50% attack when attacking, with 4 more key spheres obtained. That's all the stats besides like he's a TUR, so obviously he gets stats there, but that's the stats. 10% attack, 10% defense per key sphere, 10% attack and defense per key sphere, and then 50% attack when attacking. That's his EZA, man. That is the backbone of this character in this form. And I mean, if you look, he is already effective against all types pre-EZA, and they gave him crits, and it's like, oh my god, but he performs crits. Like, that's guaranteed crits. That's crazy. He was already effective against all types. His first turn, he still changes, the tech key spheres, but it's not like they gave him more key spheres. They just made this ability last more than his first turn, and it's like, that sucks. That this doesn't feel good. Like, I would have liked it at least if like his first turn, I would have liked it way more if in this form he was changing like the entire field of key spheres to tech key spheres his first turn. And then that would have been like, okay, he has that one turn where he's crazy, full heal, dominant. Maybe even change 2 types of key sphere his first turn to tech, and then after that it's just one type. Like, I would have much rather get that than just whatever this kid is just, it's not strong enough. There's no defensive mechanics. There isn't enough oomph. There isn't the big time attack that you've been stacking for. It's not there. I think this is an EZA we don't want to see for the 23rd World Tournament. Dokkan Fest TURs is something that's like, there's quirky bits of his design, and they didn't get quite enough defensive mechanics, and you would have just liked to see them get more mechanics overall. You want to see them get an EZA like AGL Zamasu, where it's just like, he starts, he's good, he's not like super crazy special here, but he was a supporting character for the new character that dropped, and he was good, and you get to here, and he's still stacking, and he's doing okay damage, and he has additionals, and he's a very good tank. It's like, this is an EZA that is like very acceptable. I think even this though might be a little disappointing for what the 23rd World Tournament units are and their legacy, but we'll see. And let's move on to the 2020 Dokkan Fest TURs for Golden Week and their EZAs. Looking at Gotenks is actually, I'm skipping straight to his transformation condition into Super Saiyan 3. So Gotenks needs to transform into Super Saiyan, and then you can do this transformation condition, which is basically the 4th turn after you transform into Super Saiyan, after transformation, when your HP is above 70%. This is a similar ability to the Tech Goku Standby, where it's just like, he is asked, like, collect my 7 pages. Like, it's so, you have to jump through so many hoops to get this, and I think this is like, this can't be changed. Like, they did not change this because it can't be changed. And well, in the data right now, active skills can't be changed on EZAs. And so a way that they actually circumvented sort of this condition is, you see, can be activated when HP is 70% or more. Okay, well, they just added to Super Saiyan Gotenks' kit, starting from the 4th turn from the character entry, he has a 50% chance of recovering 30% HP. Now, I think this is a little undertuned, in my opinion. They could have definitely bumped this HP up, bumped this high chance up, just made it guaranteed. But this essentially makes it so that if they could technically, I think, give something like this. Maybe if we're looking at 23rd World Tournament Goku, his condition is 6 turn from the character's entry and below 59% HP, I believe. If they did something like maybe if you're above 59% HP on this character's 6 turn from the start of from their first appearance, damage is, I don't even know what is that, 41% damage, deals 41% damage to you, and you just, so it basically is removing the HP condition. They could have just added, starting from the 4th turn from the character's entry onto this Gotenks, or this Super Saiyan Gotenks, they could have added recover 70% HP, and then guess what? This, when HP is 70% or more, that just basically doesn't exist anymore. That's sort of a way they could change quote-unquote active skill conditions, and that's something they did with this Gotenks. Or they could, they kind of, I don't want to say they half-assed it here, but they sort of half-changed. Like, it's more like 10% changed, like the 50% of the time, if you're not super low on HP, then you get this extra ability, you get this extra HP heal that lets you get into the form. And also, if we just look at his kit pre into Super Saiyan 3, he was just like, he's a very basic unit. They just gave him solid defensive mechanics, solid defense, and then Super Saiyan, he's okay damage, some RNG. He sort of they kept the skeleton of this unit's kit intact, which is basically a good defensive mechanic with some additional, or a good defensive unit with some additional supers tossed in there, and then you can basically hit Super Saiyan 3 and this character is super dominant, super good, super strong. And I think that may be something, I don't think that's a path that people may be as satisfied with, but I think that could be a good idea, just so that people get their turn 6 Twitter clips of 23rd World Tournament Goku and Mid Junior, and if they do something like this for Mid Junior, then I think it would be very satisfying. And if we could move on to Fat Boo, or this Fat Boo, Evil Boo, Super Boo. Oh, I fucking skipped. I skipped Evil Boo's passive, but basically this unit. Oh no, that's bad that I skipped him, because I wanted to talk about his Evil Boo form. But basically, this unit was pretty trash on release, in my opinion. He was one of those units that people coped for a lot because he was good with items, because he was a damage reduction unit, and back then, Super Battle Road, you have 8 items, and it's just, you have damage reduction units, you just pop a Whis, and then he's good, guys. But like, he really wasn't super crazy, but his EZA made him a really strong defensive unit. I feel like it was what he was meant to be on release. He actually was, and I feel like this is an EZA that if 23rd World Tournament Goku and Mid Junior got an EZA of this guy's level on release, it would be very, very good. But unfortunately, I don't have him pulled up. But the Evil Boo, after EZAing, when you were in, there's an intermediate phase in between these two. When you were in Evil Boo, he has a 50% chance to dodge, but he has the same damage reduction as 70. He has a 70% that all 3 forms have. He wasn't doing as much damage as Super Boo, but he just had that 50% chance to dodge, and that added like a little bit of nuance, because it's like 50% chance to dodge, maybe a tiny bit worse, or quite a bit worse damage without the rainbow orbs that this unit. But he didn't make his own rainbow orbs, so it's not like it's that big of a deal. But it's like they added nuance to this unit's kit by making you have to choose, because he had the same, at the top you see the same condition as Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks, and they basically made it so that whereas with Gotenks it's like you basically choose 100% of the time to go into Super Saiyan 3. With this character, I mean, unless you were saving it for a later phase to get that firepower later on, but with this character it was like there's kind of a give and take, because you could have the better defensive unit or the better offensive unit between Evil Boo and Super Boo. And I think I really hope they don't do that, because I feel like the 23rd World Tournament units already have very interesting kits that they could just update and modernize. They don't have to add nuance and choice to the units kits. I don't think that's necessary. Okay, this is on to 2021, the TUR EZA'S. These characters' EZA'S, okay, they were good, objectively. They were very good. Like this character and this character, they were very, very good. Very good EZA'S. But I never, they didn't, they didn't feel crazy to me. Like they weren't like crazy strong. Like I felt like Tech Super Boo on release, Tech Fat Boo the Exchange Boo, that unit felt stronger on release than these guys did. These guys, maybe it's because they were, these guys, by the way, I hope you know, like the 2021 TUR EZA'S released after the 2022 TUR EZA'S. These guys EZA'd in, what is it? They EZA'd in April, and then the 2022 EZA'S EZA'd in March. So they released after the 2022. So we could see like weirdness with that kind of stuff if they wait a long time with the 23rd World Tournament units. But I think these units were, in my opinion, they just needed like something. Like I maybe it's just they weren't fun to use, but I never felt like they were crazy. Maybe it's, when you have like when GT you run in GT Heroes with Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta when he dropped, it was like this units, they weren't grade 8 power units. They didn't have like Saiyan Roar. I guess they had GT. They didn't have the Saiyan Roar link, and so they didn't feel as crazy. They didn't feel like they were synergizing as well. And they won a bunch of orbs, but they weren't really the slot ones on the team. These units did not feel good. They did not feel good, in my opinion, to use. I did not enjoy using these units, and I think that I really hope that the 23rd World Tournament units don't get EZAs like this, where they just aren't very enjoyable. Like Vegeta, I think Vegeta just being like 3K series guarding and getting damage reduction after attacking, like he was a solid floater unit, but it's just like I did not enjoy using these units. That's my opinion. That's my take. I did not enjoy using them. I really hope they don't get an EZA like this. Despite these units being very good, despite these units being very strong, they had Rainbow Orb changing unconditional, just a very strong ability to have. They did, I'm sure, decent damage, but I did not enjoy using them. So I really hope that the 23rd World Tournament units get a bit of a better, not even better, just a bit of a more fun, dynamic EZA than these characters. Okay, moving on to the 2022, which, like I said, they EZA'd before the 2021 EZA TURs. And I think this unit was, I think on release, I had more fun with this unit than on EZA. And it's just because I feel like this unit, they got stat mogged by their release versions. Like, they sort of, okay, this is a very, very good comparison to make, because this unit had one major flaw pre-EZA, and it was that it was kind of difficult to get into Gohan. Getting into Gohan was kind of like this entire unit's gimmick. Like, you got into Gohan, and Gohan was crazy. He was crazy good. But after EZA, you still had the condition of, performing 3 super attacks, but pre-EZA, they did not have any additionals. This unit it was their super attack every turn. So if you did not get additional super attacks from hidden potential, you were just super attack turn 1, super attack turn 3, then super attack turn 5, and then you get it turn 7. Like, this character did not have any additionals, but they gave him additional that has a great chance of becoming a super attack, so you could really realistically get out Gohan, not even like unluckily, or not even like with crazy luck, turn 3. And I felt like them covering up that just outright flaw is why this unit was not as like enjoyable. Like, this unit did not feel the same to me. Like, it just, maybe it's like, I don't know, maybe it truly is just like a stat like thing. Like, this unit did not have enough stats, but I did not enjoy this unit as much as I thought I would. But also, I guess a bit of the issue could be, I guess I haven't used this unit a lot in GDC content, which is where I fear they might actually be better in GDC content than they were in other content, because this Gohan was always like a crazy defensive unit. Like, he was always a ridiculously good defensive unit. And I think that you really didn't get to see that in the 10th anniversary meta, because the 10th anniversary meta was just like fights that aren't really super threatening, and they just sit there with billions of HP for a long amount of time. But this EZA, it really wasn't something I would brag home about. it was, I think they were extremely good. Gohan is, of course, I mean, just look at this passive. Like, it's comparing this to, like, ragging on them again, the ROF Blues. It's just low-hanging fruit. If you compare them to the ROF Blues, this passive was literally so large that it's kind of, I couldn't screenshot it from the Dokkan wiki, and it's like kind of cut off at the bottom. That is literally how large this passive is. And the ROF Blues, like, they have nothing. Like, it's at least you can say that they put care into this unit. I don't think that you could say, I feel like if they had just kept the Spirit of the Units kit, where maybe they just make Gohan a tiny bit better and they just leave this unit with no additionals, people might say, like, oh my god, they didn't fix the biggest issue with this character on EZA. But it's like, that's not, I feel like that's not the intention of an EZA. EZA shouldn't just fix a character's issues. They should just keep what the character was on release, and then basically it's like re-releasing them. It's like just a unit that's re-released, but you already have the unit and they're immediately in your box. And I feel like that's what makes EZA's fun. And I think doing that with the 23rd World Tournament units could be the way to go. I feel like that would be the way to go, as opposed to just covering up the flaw of the unit by just giving them whatever they need. Okay, so this is definitely a little controversial unit, because people still think that he's good in certain, they thought he was still good in GDC fights, which he was okay, but I feel like he was only viable because the, like, LR Omega Shenron kind of just, he enveloped the team with massive amounts of support and was just so good that you really weren't worrying about like beating those fights, like especially the Rose and Tommaso fight. Like that fight was just victimized by like LR Omega Shenron and his domain and everything. And I feel like this unit was still like extremely good. Like, this was an extremely good unit. He has a lot of care put into him. I think he feels similar to how he was on release, except they made him a little less reliant on facing multiple enemies, which it would be fine in normal metas. In normal metas, I would say that's cool, that's fine. But they did that, and then they dropped the, like, one of the only metas that's like not super battle road, where you're facing big time enemy, like where the major difficult content. They dropped, oh my goodness, I'm stuttering, but this was, the GDC meta was one of the only metas that wasn't super battle road, where you were actually facing multiple enemies, which meant that if they had just kept the unit, the spirit of this unit intact, where he was okay, but then, you know, he was okay before reaching perfect form, but then in his earlier forms he's really crazy versus multiple enemies. If they had just kept the spirit of this unit, I feel like he would be, you know, not as good in, you know, the Bio Broly fight or the Cell Max fight, but he would still be crazy in those fights with two enemies. But I feel like they sort of gave him they wanted to make him good versus everywhere, and that is why you see that he's not as good versus multiple enemies if you compare his release performance to his GDC performance. But also, this character released quite a bit before GDC, so you can't complain too much about his performance in there, because obviously he aged a bit. Like I said, these units, this unit and the Gohan unit, they dropped literally before the 2021 EZA TURs, which I believe, I'm not sure if they've ever done that, where they release in the exact same time slot. Maybe with, I remember they waited a long time with LR Tech Dragon Fist Goku. That might be the only time I can remember where they dropped a unit that released in an exact time slot in modern Dokkan, the EZA of a unit a year after, before the unit of the, you know, more recent year. And look at this, they just, it's sort of the same thing here, but, you know, they just sort of, he just ramps up a bit before he gets to here, where honestly I'm not sure, like I felt like for being right away on release when I was using this unit, this felt strong, and this felt strong. For how quickly you had these, they felt strong. For how long you had to wait for this form, he was underwhelming to me, in my opinion. I would have liked if he was, you know, greatly raising attack and defense for 3 turns, and he had a little bit more in here. Like, he had just a little bit more. Maybe just guard for 5 turns instead. You know, I would have liked a little bit more. But yeah, I think that is definitely the end of it. But let me know what you guys think. What do you think of all the EZA TURs? Do you think these guys are going to get crazy EZAs, or are they going to get worse EZAs? I really, really hope, just for the sake of Omatsu and this whatever team has to respond to feedback from the Dokkan community, that these EZAs are crazy, because people are going to be upset if they're not. I want to make a video on God Goku. I wanted to include God Goku in here, but I guess it would have been a little bit too much. But let me know how you guys think their EZAs, this unit and this unit, very legendary, some of the most hype, units of all time to release during Golden Week. Very, I don't want to say they're the best, looked at in terms of like the rose tinted glasses. Maybe they are in terms of the rose tinted glasses, but definitely in terms of Golden Week, Super Saiyan 3 Goku and Fat Buu, I think they have the best legacy just because how well they aged. And I think hopefully these units, I'm not too worried about oh, please make them age like Fat Buu. I don't expect that to happen, but I really hope that these units on release are just as crazy as they were. I really hope these units with their EZAs are as crazy as they were on release, but I definitely do doubt it, and I think they'll be a little bit worse, and I think people will definitely be a little annoying about it, no matter how good these units are. But we can only hope they get a crazy EZA. There have been EZAs that just randomly out there are super crazy, Int Buhan had gotten a crazy super EZA. Physical VB had gotten a crazy just normal EZA. Some of these EZAs definitely do go crazy, so I really hope these units are some of those.